Yes, Rabbi, how are you?
All right. So I saw that you were a bit vocal on some of
Yes,
the things
I,
that
I,
I do. Go ahead.
okay, look, I have a history of being a very big defender of our traditional way of running our, we call it Yiddishkeit or Judaism, or running how the system works, and some of the things that, you say, I'm not the best debater and I'm not the biggest Talmid Chacham, but I do believe very, very strongly that we have a system over many, many generations with the Gedolei Yisrael of previous generations and this generations put into place certain rules. If everybody, even people who are not Shomer Shabbat, are going to take previous from the Talmud or from the Rambam or anywhere and try to argue the way we should be doing things, if it's got to do with Jesus Christ or if it's got to do with conversion or whatever, and we try to make each person using his own understanding of the sources and put their own thing into place, I think a whole Orthodox Jewish community is in major difficulties. But I hear what you say and I respect you and you're a rabbi, but it is sort of, I've been brought up, I was born from a very frum yeshivish family, and I've been 6 years in yeshiva in Israel and America. I am in the 60s already today. I'm a businessman, I am involved in the community, in the Orthodox frum yeshivish or Hasidic communities here, and I do have a lot to do with the more Alton modern Orthodox or even open Orthodox to a large degree, debating how certain principles should be accepted and stuck by. That's been proven for many years, and I'm not a person who believes in debating every person. If someone comes to me and starts telling me the Rambam says this or this place says that or that, I say, look, I'm not interested. Go to the Gedolim. You can go to the Chazon Ish, who's no longer alive, or you can go to the Stapler, or you can go to other, today you go to Moshe Sternbuch, you had Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. If they said it, I'll accept it. I'm not here to interpret or translate anything.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that position, but that's typically only the Ashkenazi position. But what if someone was
No,
Temani, let's say? No, wait, hold on.
If
If someone was Temani or Syrian or
yes,
Bukharian, would you still tell them to
yes.
go to your Gedolim?
No, they had very big Gedolim. I mean, you've got today Chacham Shalom Kohen, Rabbi Yosef. You've got plenty of Sephardi Gedolim, but to me, the Sephardi Gedolim or the Ashkenazi Gedolim don't have so much difference in these kind of basic principles. If it's got Jesus Christ or what Kabbalah is, or talking about conversions, I can't see such a huge difference between the two Ashkenazim or Sephardim. But of course, everybody should go according to his own Gedolim.
Wait.
But Gedolim doesn't mean Facebook.
I don't promote Jesus in any way.
Look,
I don't encourage people to believe in Jesus
you.
or anything. No,
I don't agree with you, but you did say a couple of comments which I had an issue with. Number one, the Trinity and Kabbalah, you try to put us on the same footing, which I think, even if you don't believe in Kabbalah, which I can tolerate, but trying to put a rubber stamp of approval to say that Christianity or the Trinity or Jesus Christ is no worse than the Lubavitcher Rebbe or this, you're not putting Lubavitcher Rebbe down, you're not putting Kabbalah down, you're raising the Jews for Jesus case. That's what it's doing. And I've spoken to people who've listened to you and have told me that. Jesus Christ isn't so bad. He's the same as Kabbalah. He's the same,
okay.
The same as that. That was my issue.
So let's start from the beginning. You were talking about modern day Judaism, what people do nowadays, accepted opinions, accepted minhagim. The way I teach halakha is that we first have to come to a realization that we have source material. And that's the only thing that's authoritative to run our lives in Yahadut. It's not what my community happens to do. It's not what makes me feel comfortable, and it's not what some people who consider themselves gedolim, because that's also limited to what community you're in. It really doesn't depend on what they have to say. Hashkafically and halachically, Judaism is Torah Shebiktav and Torah Shebal Peh. So what's Torah Shebiktav?
Correct.
That's the Chumash. Torah Shebal Peh is Mishnaic literature. People who had smicha, ultimately the Tanaim and before. Now, I appreciate the Rambam because the Rambam made halakha, he made the Divrei Sofrim accessible to the common man. I mean, he even says in his Hakdama to Mishnah Torah, he says, now that I've codified all of halakha, you ultimately don't even have to study Gemara anymore. All the halachas are here. So it seems like we're departing from the Rambam's vision of how Yahadut's supposed to run by having middlemen, in some way interpreting Judaism halachically and hashkafically for us. So that's where I step in. Now, I don't make up these things. There's many communities that go mainly by the Rambam, like Temanim, for example, also Spanish, Portuguese. Right? I'm not saying that I go mainly by the Rambam, but I use the Rambam a lot because it's almost a principle that if something doesn't appear in the Rambam, it's typically not in the Talmud. There's a lot of things that people quote, and they'd be quoting Shulchan Aruch Harav, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Berurah, but it's detached to our well of halacha, which is Chazal. So it seems that the Rambam had a different approach when it came to converts, and possibly even encouraging conversions. Heck, like if people want to go by Shulchan Aruch is really 90% Rambam.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but can I ask you one question, please?
Sure.
When you say different interpretations of how to do conversion, are we talking about that the applicant, the candidate for conversion, is a Shomer Torah, keeps the mitzvot, or even if they don't keep mitzvot, is your view?
The halacha is that he doesn't have to keep everything in order to convert. We have to teach him after he converts.
I didn't say everything. I'm talking about the principles of Yahadut. Do you believe, according to all sources, as far as I'm aware, they all agree, and this has been standard practice by all circles of Torah Judaism or Orthodox Judaism, whatever you want to call it, that a person cannot convert to Judaism if they are not Shomer Mitzvot. Now, I'm not saying every mitzvah, no one keeps every mitzvah. There's no Tzadik Ba'aretz, Asher Yaseh Tov Lo Yachta. Everybody makes sins. I'm talking about Shabbat. I'm talking about Taharat HaMishpacha. I'm talking about keeping the basics. Now, one of the people in the last 30 years who was in charge of the Orthodox, probably Ashkenazi, conversion tribunal was Chaim Kreiswirt, the chief rabbi of Antwerp. He was accepted by the American Orthodox rabbinate and the Israeli rabbinate as being a very, very high source, and he was a very big Talmid Chacham who was accepted by Sfaradim, Ashkenazim, everybody. He writes, if a person converts to Judaism and is shomer mitzvot, but in the next 3 years he falls back and he becomes not shomer Shabbat, example, the whole conversion lemifreya from backwards is null and void. It was never a proper kosher conversion. This is what Chaim Kreis is right. I'm not saying this in my opinion, but what I'm saying to you, when you said a comment before that we don't need middlemen, I think you would believe and you would agree with me that there's no such religion, there's no such setup in any authority, where every Tom, Dick and Harry, every person, being Jewish, being half Jewish, being secular Jewish, being Orthodox Jewish, being non-Jewish, can interpret by themselves the sources and the practices and the traditions and the halacha. You must have, as the Torah says. The Torah says on two different places.
All right, let me respond.
Harav is the Mishnah. One second. It says Asel Harav, and it also says, Rashi explains, you go to the Kohen B'Yom Yom. Rashi says you have to go to the rabbi of your times.
That's
so the Torah already gives us. Torah already gives us.
So I have to interrupt you because you're going. because I want to be
No,
able to
you're
respond
right.
to all
Okay.
these things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Okay. So what I'm saying is, do we have Rabbanim? Do we agree with Rabbanim?
hold
Because
on
the
one
Torah
second.
says you have to.
Okay. Hold on one
Yes.
second, because around 90% of what you said I disagree with, but I'm going to cover it. There's only 3 places in halakha that covers what we do with converts when they come to convert. Now, there's an understanding of akum sheshavet chayv mita, that a Gentile who keeps Shabbat is liable to the death penalty. So this notion that Gentiles should be completely Torah observant before they convert is really unheard of. But just let me finish here. So the 3 sources that deal with conversions is in Masechet Yevamot, in Yeridea 268, in the Rambam Surabia, the 14th chapter. And they all say the exact same thing. It says that when someone comes to convert, you tell them some of the mitzvot, not all of the mitzvot, lest you turn them away from the good path back to the bad path. But it never says that he has to be completely mekabel mitzvot. It says that he has to at least accept what you tell them. Because becoming Jewish, it seems that what matters is what you do afterwards. Yes, you have to keep Torah afterwards, but someone doesn't have to be fully observant when they come to convert, because they don't even know yet. The only example we have by Chazal of a convert coming to convert is the example given by Hillel and Shammai. It says that the ger comes to be Megayer 3 different times on 3 different ulterior motives. And in every one of those instances, Hillel converts him. It says miyad, right away, and then he teaches him. So this notion that they have to come completely sincere, knowing more than the average yeshiva student is new. The idea that you said that someone nullified a conversion if this individual didn't keep Torah mitzvahs after the 3 years actually goes directly against the Rambam. It says, but in a Surabia, also the 14th chapter, it says that if a goy converts and then he goes back to his avodah zorah, he says that he has a status of an idolatrous Israelite. This whole notion of nullifying conversions is nowhere in halakha. The first person to do it was Shlomo Koppel in the 60s for the issues of mamzerut. But this is the problem with middlemen. They change halakha. This is what's called a Baal Tosif. Someone who adds, not just to Torah Shebiktav, but Torah Shebal Peh, because Torah Shebal Peh clearly says that that is not even possible. You tied Aselech Harav with Parashat Shoftim, with the mitzvah of Lo Tasur, which has nothing to do with Aselech Harav. The mitzvah of Lo Tasur, Parashat Shoftim, Deuteronomy chapter 17, has to do with the Beis Din HaGadol. The Rambam writes in the first parak of Hilchos Mamrim, it says, Beis Din HaGadol, Sheber Yerushalayim, Chem Iker Torah Shebal Peh. And then he quotes Parshat Shoftim, that you quoted, talking about the Beis Din HaGadol, which is the Iker of Torah Shebal Peh. It has nothing to do with Aselech Harav. Aselech Harav is not a mitzvah. Perkei Avot is not a halacha sefer. It's a Musar sefer. It's a nice idea to make a rov for yourself. The Rambam there writes that to make a rov for yourself, even that knows less than you, it's not telling you to make a rov muvchak. I think Rav Aaron Lichtenstein said it best. He said that statement, Aselech Harav, means to make one rov. Like the previous statement, to make a friend means make just one friend. Nonsense. It means make a lot of friends. Learn from many different Rabbanim. I'm just trying to cover everything that you mentioned.
But there's a lot of things you've said which is a little bit been misquoted. You realize that. Number one, to talk about what Hillel did, I don't think is really here or there, but I'm happy to discuss that as well. But what Hillel did from A to Z is not what you and I and anybody today in our generation can do, should do, or has been accepted to do. We don't go today, people who don't even know what Yiddishkeit is, doesn't know what halach is, doesn't know. You a learned man. I tell you, for people to go and try to follow Hillel, who can't even read a pasuk of Chumash, is definitely not the accepted norm practice, and it's very illogical. But what there is one thing here, screaming out loudly, in every generation, and I've learned a bit about conversion. I've been sitting on Botedin, not as a dayan, but as an assistant, as a helper, as a witness, as whatever. I know a little bit about it. When a person comes to convert, till the person is called a Jewish, I can give you hundreds of thousands of examples. It is not the same time. It's not the same day. The way you're standing at a person comes, like Hillel Hazokan did, and he converts him on the spot. That's not the way. It's done. You know that. I know that.
Halacha
and
doesn't change. Halacha doesn't change.
Halacha is what is written in the Shulchan Aruch and what is given at by all the poskim. I can give you 1,000 poskim, and not one of them will agree to you.
This is exactly what Shulchan Aruch says.
Translate Halacha.
No.
Okay, Shulchan Aruch, I can give you people with Shlome Koppel, new Shulchan Aruch, with Shmuel Wozniak, new Shulchan Aruch, the Minchas Yitzchak, new Shulchan Aruch. You are coming as a person sitting in Florida running a radio station, trying to say that what you translate halacha is the real halacha, and what all the Gedolim who've spent hundreds of thousands of hours studying, learning, disputing, sitting in yeshivas and kollelim for 50, 60 years non-stop, learning 20 hours a day non-stop, they don't know the halacha, and a radio station in Florida knows the halacha. So let me just say one word to you. When a person comes to convert everybody who's an Orthodox rabbi, and there's tens of thousands of Orthodox rabbis, from a Chabad Shliach to a mainstream Rav in a big shul, everybody will tell you, you can't convert a person and after the conversion he's going to start becoming religious, because you and I are not prophets and you don't know what he'll do after the conversion. You can't call a person Jewish if he doesn't keep halacha. We agree on that. You say it's after that he has to keep halacha. Once you've converted him, especially according to your opinion that you can't pull back a conversion, which Reb Chaim Kreiswitz had a different pesach than you, but let's say your pesach is right and Reb Chaim Kreiswitz was wrong. If you can't pull back a conversion, and a person we all agree has to keep some mitzvot, and you say that that should be only after the conversion, and you can't pull back the conversion, how does it work? How can you convert a person when he's supposed to keep some mitzvot, and you claiming that he's only after the conversion? When he converts, you don't have to.
So let me respond quickly.
One second. Let me just say one more sentence and I'm finished.
Sure.
When a person comes to convert, is what you answer him. Conversion is something that happens later. 6 months, 12 months, 9 months, 4 months. Nobody comes to a business for conversion and you convert him in 24 hours. That doesn't happen. That's not the way the Orthodox or the Torah community operates.
Because I want to respond in order.
When you come to convert, don't confuse two different times.
Okay, so you said that someone after he converts, if he doesn't keep Torah, he's still a Gentile. Do you feel the same way about secular Jews? No, hold on. Do you feel the same way about secular Jews? No. Now, what's your opinion?
I feel a secular Jew until he makes tshuva stays a secular Jew. Yes, I do.
Okay,
so then is secular, he becomes religious. But he's a Jew because he was born a Jew.
So that's more binding than converting to Judaism?
I'm telling you, if you're born in the United States of America, you are an American. You can burn the flag every day.
Right, if you convert as well, correct? If you convert to Judaism, you're fully Jewish.
If you want to become a citizen of the United States, and you're going to burn the flag, you will not become a citizen. You can't become Jewish if you don't keep the rules. Yes, if you're born Jewish, you're Jewish if you keep or you don't keep them. That's the same principle in every society.
So that's a double standard.
I am Australian. Okay. It is a double standard, but in Australia, I'm Australian. Doesn't matter what I do. If I want to become Australian and I'm a new immigrant and I don't follow certain principles, I will never become Australian.
Let me comment,
you can't
please.
Become Jewish according to all norms of halacha if you don't follow the Torah.
No,
yes,
I'm not
you're
saying
born
that.
Jewish, you are Jewish. I'm not talking logic. I'm talking now halacha principles.
According to halacha, if you
I'm
convert...
telling you halachically,
okay, hold on one second. Let me respond.
I can give you 200 sources.
Hold on, let me respond.
If you're born Jewish, you are Jewish. If you're not practicing Jewish, you cannot convert to Judaism. And your logic, is that better, is it worse? There's no logic here. We're not talking about people who use their stomachs to make up what halacha is. You can't imagine and use logic here.
Just let me respond. Okay. So, halachically, someone who converts to Judaism is as much of a Jewish person as someone who was born from a halachically Jewish mother. Okay.
If he practices halakha.
No. Well, you're saying that if someone who's born Jewish who doesn't practice halakha or Torah, that they just have the status, right? But a convert who converts and then doesn't practice halakha is...
No, when he converts, does he practice halakha? When he converts.
Well,
the day he becomes Jewish, does he keep Shabbat? Does he keep kosher? Does he keep Tat Mishpacha? If he doesn't, he is not Jewish according to every single source. What he does a year or two later is
what source is that?
by different
That's not what
poskim.
Shulchan Aruch says. That's not what the
Yes, it
Rambam
does.
says. That's
Yes,
not
it
what
does.
the Talmud says.
Yes, it does.
First of all,
yes, it does. Shulchan Aruch says
well,
exactly.
I'll
And
tell
not
you-
just it says, every single Orthodox rabbi, every Bezdin,
Okay,
every
here, listen.
rabbinite practices
Shulchan Aruch-
the rules of the Shulchan Aruch. If you even
Hold on one
Israeli
second.
rabbinite who's
Hold on one Shulchan- Forget about Achronim
the
for right
Israeli
now.
rabbinite is
Let's stick with Rishonim and
quite
before.
lenient. Even they will not
Okay,
convert
hold on
you
one
if you're not practicing Jews.
No, forget about what people are doing nowadays. You said Shulchan Aruch, you said
No,
Rambam, and
you
you said
don't
the Talmud.
forget. You don't
Okay,
forget.
no.
You have to follow the Gedolim. You don't follow the
Okay.
radio station.
So-
you don't follow Facebook. You follow the Rabbonim.
It
They
appear-
will go from
Okay.
generation to generation.
Please
and
let me
they will-
respond.
Moshe Tzivah on the Torah came from Sinai. It's given over from generation to generation.
Okay, listen.
You can't come
Okay,
as a
hold on
radio
one
station
second.
and change that.
You have to let me talk. Okay? I
Yes.
never said that I would convert someone who wasn't willing to keep mitzvot. That we're talking about hypothetically. What does halakha have to do?
Willing, you don't know.
Wait,
The word
wait.
willing could be anything. A person
Hold on
doesn't
one
know
second. Just let me talk. Just
Does
let me
he
talk.
keep halakha or does
No.
not halakha? There's no willing here.
Hold on one second. I would never convert someone who's not willing to keep mitzvot. Okay.
But you don't. He
Okay,
doesn't
hold
know
on
what
one
he's
second.
willing.
Hold on one
Is
second.
he keeping halakha? Is he keeping
Let's talk-
halakha or not?
Hold on one
you
second.
can't, in theory, be keeping halakha. It's either you
Hold on
keep
one second.
Shabbat or you don't
Okay.
keep Shabbat. There's no willing here.
So Shulchan Aruch reiterates what the Rambam says, and the Rambam quotes Chazal here, that Gentiles are not allowed to study Torah on their own. Okay? They're
Correct.
not, okay. So this is why we see Hillel converting them and then having them learn. We also see this in the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch reiterates the Rambam. It says
Shulchan
that-
Aruch does not say that.
Hold on one second.
Shulchan Aruch does not say
Okay,
that.
just hold on. Conversions took a day or two.
Not true.
Hold
not
on one second.
correct.
I'm going to explain how. So the Rambam.
But it's not correct.
Okay,
I
I'm going to
can tell
explain
you
it and then.
history.
Yeah, but you don't know what I'm going to say.
Go to history back
You don't know what I'm
1,000
gonna
years.
say.
Go to Germany. Go to Frankfurt. Go to Krakow.
We're talking
go
about
to
the Rambam. We're
all
talking
the
about Shulchan
Sephardi
Aruch.
places. I'm talking about if you look in the last 500 years, every single Orthodox rabbi,
Forget about
every
what rabbis are
Orthodox
doing today.
Bezdin,
We're sticking with
every
the
Bezdin,
Rambam.
You are breaking tradition. You're breaking the Jewish concept.
You have
How
to let me
you
respond
convert.
here.
This is
Hold on
not
one second.
accepted Torah practice.
We're discussing
this
the
is against
Rambam.
Torah what you're doing. This is
Okay.
against Torah.
Like,
the
you at least have to
Rambam,
let me quote the
I
Rambam and
will
Shulchan Aruch.
I will take you to people who are the biggest Talmidei Chachamim of her generation, who know Rambam better than I and you will know in 1,000
Okay.
years, and they will explain to you that you cannot make a person Jewish who does not keep the basic principles
But
of
that's not what I'm
halacha from
arguing.
day one. You
That's not what I'm
can't do
arguing.
it.
Hold on one second. That's not what
I'm
arguing.
arguing that.
So
You can't be
Okay.
Jewish and then be willing to keep Torah later. No.
No,
the
no.
day you become Jewish, the minute
Okay.
you become Jewish,
That's
if you don't keep kosher,
a
if you don't
moot
keep
point.
Shabbat,
Okay.
you are not Jewish.
But who said that I'm converting people who don't keep kosher and don't keep Shabbat? We're discussing
You
a hypothetical
are-
situation. No, I never said
I
that.
am just responding to the statement you made on this conversation.
hold on
You
one
made
second.
a statement
Hold on.
that after, as long as they're willing to keep later,
No.
then
Okay.
you can convert them now and they become religious
Okay.
later.
So,
no,
hold on one
no.
second. Just let
they
me talk.
can't. The minute they
gosh.
become Jewish,
Okay, just
they
let me
must
talk.
keep all the basic
Okay.
mitzvot.
Please give me at least 1 minute to talk without being
I'll
interrupted.
give you even 10.
Okay, great. I would never convert someone who is either not keeping Judaism to the best of his ability nowadays or willing to go all the way after he converts. I was discussing
Shabbat,
hypothetically.
Shabbat,
Hold on one
kashrut,
second.
Tahar Mishpacha.
Okay,
Can
for
you
sure.
answer
Okay.
those three? Those three answers. Does it keep Shabbat?
Hold
Does
on
it
one
keep Tahar
second.
Mishpacha? Does
Hold-
it keep kosher? Those are the three principles.
I thought you were going to
Does
let me
it keep-
talk.
Not
Okay.
later. Does it keep it when he's converted? If not, the conversion is null and void.
Okay. I wanted to discuss how long conversion takes. Like I said, I don't convert people who aren't keeping mitzvot to some level, okay? Whether you agree with it or not. But I'm saying hypothetically, if someone begins keeping mitzvot after they convert, There isn't a source in the
the
Rambam. There isn't a source in Shulchan
Can you
Aruch.
answer me on my three? Can you answer me these three mitzvot? Shabbat, Kashrut, Tahat Mishpacha. Let's stick to these three basics.
Oh.
Do they keep them the day you convert them or not? That's my question to you.
Maybe.
Maybe is not an answer. I don't know what that means.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly all they were keeping before. I've never heard of someone who's converting, who's even allowed to enter a mikvah to do taharas mishpacha, to assume that they have to be...
I'm saying from the minute after they convert.
Minute. After. You said before.
60 seconds. 60, no. I'm saying the minute they get converted, if they don't keep Shabbat the first Friday night.
For sure.
Don't keep the Tahat Mishpacha the first 30 days.
So now you're changing the discussion
the first
here.
5 minutes, then the whole conversion is a joke.
You said before.
No, I said from the minute after. You can listen back to the transcript. The minute, not later,
so for sure,
not willing.
They are expected to keep every mitzvah.
Not expected if they don't keep the Tahat Mishpacha.
Okay.
If they don't keep kosher, they don't keep Shabbat, the conversion is 0.
Okay, well that...
I'm saying that in the name of Gedolei Yisrael that I've spoken to.
Oh, but there's no source for this. In the Talmud, there's no source, and amongst Rishonim, there's no source. Well, you have to quote one source.
You need to follow the practice is number 4. If you're a Torah Jew, you have to follow the Orthodox religious practices. You have to look at what all the Botedinim, the best things are doing. You have to talk to...
So that's where we differ.
Who are the big rabbanim? I mean, you're talking about a rabbi that you mentioned to me yesterday who gave you smicha. I mean, this is not a rabbi. This is a clown. This guy goes to non-Jewish weddings and he performs ceremonies there. You're not talking about a rabbi who's an accepted posek, a person who knows halacha, who can give smicha, and who you can ask das Torah from.
Well, let's be a little respectful, because it seems what you're doing now is being Motza Shemra. This individual...
No, it's not Motza Shemra.
No,
he puts it on the internet himself.
No, because he's registered by the state of New York to be able to perform marriages, not Jewish marriages. Like, he would never marry a non-Jew to a Jew, or vice versa.
Two non-Jews, if he marries, he's not a person who can give smicha. It's not the way it's done. He's not a posek.
What are you talking about?
The Moshe Feinstein could give. The Shmuel Kamenetsky can give you smicha.
Wait.
You can't get smicha from a clown.
Where in halacha does it limit who could give smicha? As a matter of fact, smicha doesn't even exist. Real smicha doesn't exist post the 4th century.
I'm talking about the smicha that we use, that you are willing to give what you call das Torah. Are you willing to give halacha? Are you saying the Rambam is what we go according, and we don't go according to what the Besdin says? We don't go according to Rabbanut. We don't go against all the American Botedinim. We don't go what the European Botedinim say. We don't go according to Chaim Kreuzit. You're brushing at a
second.
Tzaddikim and Gedolim, and you are saying...
You have to let me speak.
And you've got this clown who is making weddings for non-Jews.
No, that's part of his income.
According to halacha,
he doesn't do it as a religious person.
These women, had they dressed when they marry, you're not even allowed to be there, according to halacha. The same Rambam like that.
I'm not sure what you're quoting here in terms of...
I'll show you photos of this clown standing in front of a woman who dressed like on the beach, which no rabbi should be near that, and he's standing there.
Oh, but that has nothing to do with halacha. That has nothing to do with halacha. That's part of his income. That he officiates
you're
weddings.
Not allowed to be there. You're not allowed to be there.
Just like a notary public.
Wedding according to halacha.
Like, you're making up halacha as you go along.
I'm not making halacha.
Is what appears in the Talmud.
Let me ask you, Rabbi.
Wait, hold on. Let's talk about sources
here.
You're not
who is your posek? Which dayanim, which poskim, which rabbis do you accept that you can go to them and they have got a better understanding of halacha than your way of program does?
Mm-hmm. I don't endorse that way of Judaism. That someone could just...
Who are the people
hold on 1 second.
Is Moshe Feinstein acceptable to you?
What do you mean acceptable? There's no such thing as an actual posek nowadays that could poskin against halacha.
Okay, is Moshe Feinstein's Pesach halacha, the way he understood halacha, the way he interpreted halacha, do you believe that he's got a better understanding what the halacha is in you? If I've got a secular question in law, I'll go to the biggest expert in law.
Right.
I don't go to a radio program or to a Facebook page.
Do you disagree with Moshe Feinstein?
Tell me
ever?
what the law.
Do you ever disagree with Moshe Feinstein?
I can't disagree with Moshe Feinstein.
Really?
I can find another posek.
All right.
Calibre,
So what's the difference?
And I can say I'll follow that posek and not this posek.
So then you're picking and choosing.
I can't disagree with nobody.
So,
who am I?
all right.
I'm a nobody.
So you're also picking and choosing.
I am not picking and choosing.
All right.
I am following.
So you're saying that if I stick with the Rambam,
the best one, I'm asking you who.
I'm not able to say.
Das Torah in the last 20 years. Who was your last Das Torah? You were a rabbi. You can't be a rabbi if you don't have Asay L'Chorab. A Mishnah, it's not just a Musa Sefer, because even a Musa Sefer you have
constantly
to keep.
speaking over me.
If the Mishnah says Asay L'Chorab, you have to make a Rab. Who is your Rab? J.B. Soloveitchik was your Rab. Aaron Lichtenstein is your Rab.
Hold on one second.
My opinion is.
This isn't going to sound good on radio because you're not letting me speak.
I accept.
Okay.
I'll let you speak, but answer me who are the sources who can interpret halacha better than your radio program can.
I'm doing the same thing you're doing. If you disagree with
I am saying I know nothing.
Hold on one second.
I know nothing. I know nothing.
I
follow my tradition.
Hold on one second. I'm doing what all rabbis do. If they don't like a pasak from a certain Rav, they'll hold by someone else. So I'm choosing to hold
somebody else.
Hold on one second.
Tell me the name.
All right.
Who do you hold? Who?
So
this clan Colorado, whatever his name was.
Oh.
Is that your Rav?
So holding by the Rambam is not enough? I mean, being that they're both dead?
No. He's not a posek in the last 20 years. No.
What do you mean posek? That you can't posek in halacha that contradicts Talmud Bavli.
The Rambam is being interpreted by you in a total different way to another 10,000 rabbis. 10,000 say the Rambam means.
So your posek has to be an Achron?
They convert. You are a one loner outcast, different than the rest. So you need to find somebody in this generation
I stand by the Rambam,
who can guide
and I stand by Talmud Bavli.
If you don't accept any rabbi in the last 20 years and accept what they say is better than what your own logic tells you, I'm sorry, you can't be called a rabbi in Torah values.
I'm doing the
You
exact
can be
same
called in radio values, in
Hold on.
Facebook values, but not in Torah values.
You're emoting right now. Just let me respond a little bit. I'm doing the same thing
Just
that every rabbi does. I'm trying to answer you.
The name of a rabbi.
No, but it doesn't work like that. Because every rabbi will say...
You accept nobody?
Okay.
Nobody?
The average
rabbi.
If you
tell me that your conversion that you do, your practices, is the same as Rabbi Moshe Sternbuch in Jerusalem, or the same as Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky in Philadelphia, or the same as Rabbi Cheskel Roth in Borough Park, or in Los Angeles, Rabbi Avraham Union. If you're telling me that you follow this rabbi, I respect you. If you follow nobody, but you interpret the Rambam the way you want to do it,
so
against tens of thousands of rabbis, you are bankrupt.
That's your preference. These group of Gedolei Yisrael, if you were Sephardi, if you were Syrian, that you would have different Gedolim. Now, I do. Listen to what I'm saying. Okay. Yeah, but I don't worship these individuals like that. I don't need permission to go by halakha.
You ask.
Hold on one second.
From an expert.
Oh my
if
gosh.
you've got a medical condition, if someone's got cancer, you go to cancer specialist. You don't go to a radio program to tell you how to treat cancer. I'm sorry. Okay. You don't go to a radio program to look how to convert.
Admitting that you're not a Talmud Chacham, who are you to tell me who's acceptable and who's not acceptable? Who are you to tell me that I can go straight to Shulchan Aruch? Who are you to tell me that I can go straight to the Rambam?
You have to accept
says who?
Somebody.
Says who?
Somebody.
Where does it say in halakha?
A
selech harab doesn't mean to make one rabbi for yourself. That's not what it means.
You need to follow a rabbi. You need
to
ask the question from the expert.
Selech harab is not a halacha.
You've got a problem and your house has got water coming in, you go to a plumber, you go to a roofer, and you ask an opinion. You can't give opinions in how to run conversion through radio programs.
Okay. Right.
It's not the way it's done.
Hold on 1 second. What are you doing? Okay, but let me respond. Okay.
I don't know what you do
so
for
we'll
a living.
End this discussion
I don't know what you do. I don't know which community you run.
I think that you're scared to let me talk.
You are saying that you convert people. Who do you follow? the Rambam you follow? You know what the Rambam did and how he did it?
He wrote it down.
Can you ask him? Can you discuss it with him?
He wrote it down.
You have to find somebody in this generation
people like you
who you agree with, who agrees with your practices.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, nobody except that clown who is marrying off Christians, besides the clown, nobody will agree with you.
Okay. All right. So we'll end the discussion here. In terms of letting me speak, that's clearly not going to happen. I think that the few minutes
Can you answer
that
the questions? Can you answer the questions? Which
that's not the type of Judaism I practice. I teach against this.
You don't agree with nobody.
No.
You don't agree with anybody.
I do what everyone else does. I like many things that Rav Moshe Feinstein brings to the table. I appreciate what the Rav brings down, but no one, only an airhead, would say I only go by one person and one person only.
No.
Okay, so you're doing the same thing I'm doing.
With a different rabbi, but nobody will convert a person because maybe he's willing to accept the mitzvot after the conversion. Nobody does that. Nobody.
What are you talking about? All we could do is hope that they stay on the right derech after the conversion.
Yes, but they have to be on the right derech.
But that's not what you're saying. You're saying that if they convert and they don't keep mitzvot, they're still goyim. That's nowhere in halakha.
I am saying there is two different shittot, two different versions. Chaim Kreis says no.
That's a modern day rabbi. I'm quoting the Rambam and you're quoting Rabbi Kanievsky.
Even today say, as long as that person has spent 6
There's
months
no hierarchy
learning and knowing and keeping every mitzvah except for Shabbat, and even Shabbat he should keep.
I don't think that you know enough to have a discussion with me. Okay, by the simple fact that you're quoting Achronim and you're trying to override Tanaim and even Rishonim, I'm quoting the Rambam, I'm quoting Shulchan Aruch, I'm quoting the Talmud, and you're quoting Rabbi Kanievsky.
Let me just ask you one question, and I'll give you, and I won't say another word. Are you claiming now that all these tens and tens and tens of thousands of Banim, Gedolim, Tzadikim, Poskim are all going against the Chonim, and only you are following the Chonim? Is that what you're trying to say to me now? The only Rabbi Asher on his radio program follows the Chonim, and all the tzaddikim, Rabbi Yosef is a Saudi, Shlome Koppel is a Saudi, they don't keep the chonim and only you do? Please.
It's hard for me to believe that you live in a Jewish community and you think that opinions in Judaism are that monolithic. You're telling me that Rabbi Yosef had a lot in common with Rav Eliashiv or Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach? What are you talking about?
You know what Eliashiv would say to what you're saying?
No, it doesn't matter. They didn't agree with each other. But the difference...
He would say you are an apikoros. That the Trinity and Kabbalah are equal, he would say you are an apikoros. For that comment that you made. That the Trinity and Kabbalah are equal, he would call you an apikoros.
All right. Yes, and he would consider the Rambam and the Yavitz also heretics.
You are not the Rambam. You are not the Yavitz.
All right.
Please.
Okay.
Find yourself
a
rabbi more
I don't think we're able to have a discussion here because all you're doing is calling names.
The Rambam is not the person you can run your...
You're an example of what's wrong with Judaism. Okay? You're an example.
Okay. So look for different religion if you don't like Judaism. No
I go back to halakha.
You don't have to follow Judaism, but don't change Judaism. Don't tell me the Trinity is the same thing. Don't tell me Jesus Christ is the same as the Rabbi on your Facebook page. Have a look how many times people write that, and you accept it. You don't dispute it. You don't deny the Lubavitcher Rebbe who kept
I appreciate your time.
He's got thousands of people promoting Yiddishkeit, promoting mitzvot. Is the same as Jesus Christ. That is your view?
I appreciate your time. You're not going to let me speak, so then I think that...
I'll let you speak as long as you that's what I'm saying.
That's it.
Don't answer nothing. Okay. You keep repeating your statements. I don't keep a chonim.
Have a nice day.
All the Rabbonim is wrong. The Judaism is wrong. The whole Torah is wrong. You are the right one.
Okay. Be gebenched.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. It was a pleasure talking to you. Keep well. Bye. And if you